Cues for Leadership.
Welcome to Behavioral Echoes, where science, the real world, and behavior engage to give us the best choices for living great lives. Our current episode is a continuation from last week's The Time My Elephant Lost Its Color. The purple elephant. The purple elephant and conformity. Looking at how we get to that point and what influences us. Here's a cue. Once you know how it's impacted, you engage with your inner Picasso once again.
Thank you, Chris, for that great overview and really looking at a different perspective and seeing how different filters impact how we do things. So I want to go back to when we were talking about the purple elephants and coloring and all of that fun stuff. So if we think about it from that lens and look at it that way, we were talking about imagination and being bright and messy and unfiltered, and of course, elephants. But the world begins handing us filters, whether we realize it or not. So let's go back and look at this coloring. And if I show you a couple filters, what happens? School has said right answers only. It shows you those beautiful X's that none of us want to see. And what does that do? That begins to cloud how we see the world. And it really changes things. Then we get more into high school and that level of education. And that comes that conversation, like I shared, pick a lane. Don't spread yourself too thin, more filters. By the time we reach the workplace, surrounded by people who, let's be honest, took the same courses, read the same textbooks, went to the same university, learned the same rules, had the same teachers. What's left is complete cloud. Our filters have been taken over. We are believing what we see and hear. But I'll tell you something. Our imagination is still there. It didn't get lost. It might be buried under layers of looking for approval and fear of how others see us or being wrong and the pressure to perform a certain way. And a lot of cases, it's disguised as being professional. But what we've ended up doing is censoring ourselves in order to survive. But all it takes is a simple thing. Start peeling back those filters, just one layer at a time, and curiosity begins to flicker again. When you remove more layers, the spark gets brighter. Complete dropping them until they're gone, the imagination never left. All it was waiting is for us to feel safe enough to return. That's all. But let's go back to what I just talked about, the workplace. And we have been in school, we've been surrounded by different people, whether it be, different babysitters, whether it be preschool, whether it be school, whether it be neighbors, friends, that really looked after us for a good 20 years, indirectly, and they were not even aware. We've been trained to conform. And suddenly we get into this workplace, and what happens? Leaders want us to be innovative, and they start questioning why we're not more innovative. If you think about it, it's like tying someone's shoelaces together and yelling, run! That's how we've set ourselves up. Or teaching someone to whisper their entire life and be quiet, just listen, and then asking them why they're not more vocal in sharing in meetings. But here's the real paradox. We worship innovation in theory, but in practice, it's really punished and not wanted. Every time someone pitches a new idea, you've all been there, and we get shut down, the nervous system records it as a filter of safety. It's not rejection. It really represents danger, and we start stepping back. We start getting smaller. The next time we're asked for an idea, we probably hold back, not because we don't have any, because our biology is telling us it's not safe to share. And this is really something to think about when we look at those filters. What are we actually doing to our nervous system, and how are we programming ourselves?
In the biology of business, we look at this not as a culture problem, but a regulation problem, a central nervous system regulation problem. A dysregulated system can't innovate. A nervous system in threat mode would always choose certainty over creativity. That's why we built the Cues framework. Think of it as a leadership nervous system reset. Calibrate your current step, understand the signals your body and team are sending, embody the regulation you want your culture to feel, and then sustain it long enough to shift the field around you. Cues. Because when you regulate, you don't just lead with logic, you lead with resonance, resiliency, and resiliency is contagious. When leaders widen their lens, teams follow. Ideas flow again. The air in the room changes, literally. We've measured it. Regulated leaders create coherent teams. Brainwaves sync, heart rhythms align. That's not poetry, that's biology. So maybe the problem isn't that people forgot how to innovate. Maybe their nervous systems are just waiting for permission to feel safe enough to go for it. The imagination never died. It just needed a leader brave enough to take the filters off.